The news for the Walt Disney Company keeps getting worse. A new report crafted by the Central Florida Tourism Oversight Board, which was created in the wake of the state of Florida, specifically the Florida legislature's dissolving of the Reedy Creek Improvement District, indicates that the Walt Disney Company was trying to create or install its own monarchy in the state of Florida, superseding the Florida legislature as well as the United States Constitution. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our videos here at the Trent Report. But let's get into this here. Wrote this up over at That Park Place this morning. A new report from the state of Florida's Central Florida Tourism Oversight District declares that the Walt Disney Company created an, quote, experimental absolute monarchy within the borders of the state of Florida. In the introduction to the report, which was prepared by Professor Donald Cochin, Bill Jennings, and Kimley Horn for the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, it makes abundantly clear that what the Walt Disney Company did in the state of Florida, declaring Disney had established an extra constitutional governing authority, an experimental absolute monarchy within the borders of the state of Florida, and accordingly, the United States, one that strikingly resembled, without exaggeration, a kingdom of yore. The report is specifically discussing the Reedy Creek Improvement District, which was created back in 1967 and was recently replaced by Governor Ron DeSantis with the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. Obviously, it wasn't just Governor Ron DeSantis, it was the Florida legislature as well. The Reedy Creek Improvement District, if you're unfamiliar with it, was originally created as a, quote, special taxing district that would act with the same authority and responsibility as a county government. It was primarily created so that the Walt Disney Company could develop Walt Disney World and bring in power and water to the area, to the then remote rural location that they were developing Walt Disney World on. Specifically, the Reedy Creek Improvement District noted that landowners within the area, which was, quote, primarily Walt Disney World, would be solely responsible for paying the cost of providing typical municipal services like power, water, roads, fire protection, etc. The new report, which was exclusively obtained by the Daily Wire, detailed, quote, what is now evident is that Disney not just controlled the Reedy Creek Improvement, but did so by effectively purchasing a loyalty. The vast majority of employees at the RCID were working hard to do their jobs and were diligent in doing so. Nonetheless, because of the decisions made by the RCID management and the Board of Supervisors, their work was tainted with the appearance of impropriety. As comprehensively documented within, for years, the company treated district employees like Disney employees by, quote, by, for instance, providing complimentary annual passes and steep discounts, benefits, and perks that were akin to bribes. Not surprisingly, then, the district's employees believed that it was their job to prioritize the interests of Disney. So that is pretty damning. Walt Disney Company treating the Reedy Creek Improvement District as if the people working there were its own employees and offering them bribes as such. The report goes on to note that the Walt Disney Company never fulfilled its promises for the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Disney sold the RCID as one thing in the mid-1960s, but there was deception behind the pitch and sale. The company promised, for example, affordable housing, transportation, and other social and community services. Today, 100,000 people commute into the district to work for Disney. Yet under Disney's control, the RCID built no workforce housing or schools and did not develop any public services directed at anyone but Disney tourists. The district also gave special treatment to Disney. The RCID never made Disney pay impact fees, as all other developers in Orange and Osceola counties must pay. Transportation impact fees linked to hotel rooms alone would cost Disney $130 million in Orange County today. The report succinctly states the RCID was a mousetrap. Disney dangled savory cheese in front of the Florida legislature and the people of Orlando, but quickly abandoned its city building pretense. Without real checks and balances, internal dissent and public decision-making was shut down and competition was likely stifled, if not eliminated. What's more, the citizens of Osceola and Orange counties paid for the operation of the district without receiving their entitled rights to participation and benefit. Furthermore, the report notes that the complete and unaccountable governmental power was handed over to a private corporation, transforming a democratic institution into a private corporate monopoly. Finally, the report concludes that the Florida legislature's actions in reforming the district were warranted, as the foregoing analysis demonstrates the governance of the district was in dire need of reform, and thus the legislature was amply warranted in passing 2022 Florida Senate Bill 4C and 2023 Florida House Bill 9B. As a result of that legislation, the new district administrator and the board have undertaken a myriad of reforms, and the current governance structure is working well. So you might be wondering, what is the point of me discussing this new report? Well, the Walt Disney Company the Walt Disney Company sued the state of Florida and Governor Ron DeSantis back in April. In the 77-page claim, Disney alleged the dissolution of the Reedy Creek Improvement District violates the contracts clauses of the United States Constitution, violates the takings clause of the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, violates the 14th Amendment's due process clause, and violates the company's First Amendment political speech. Disney CEO Bob Iger has spoken on numerous occasions in the press, claiming the state of Florida retaliated against the Reedy Creek Improvement District, and specifically the Walt Disney Company, over the company getting itself involved in the Parental Rights and Education Bill, which banned the teaching of gender identity and sexual orientation to students in kindergarten through third grade. He recently made this assertion during the New York Times DealBook Summit 2023. He said the governor decided he got very, very angry at the company when it took that position and decided to punish the company by basically stripping it of. First, he wanted to strip essentially the entity that manages the property that Disney World is on. Then he decided that was impractical, so he would just take out the board and put his own board in. We felt that was a direct result of the company having exercised its right to free speech, taking the position against the Don't Say Gay bill, which is misnomered. Obviously, that's not what the bill was. And that punishing us for exercising our right to free speech was anti-American and anti-business. And I felt that it was really important for us to stand up for our rights and simply ask the question. Despite claiming everything had to do with the falsely named Don't Say Gay bill, Iger then claimed it had nothing to do with it. He said it wasn't about the Don't Say Gay bill at that point. It was about, does the company have a right to free speech? And if it exercises that right to free speech, it should not face a retribution, because it has done. And that's what we thought was going on. So there's a lawsuit that we filed that is very specific to that. And Iger's made this comment numerous times throughout this past year. Legal analyst Andrew Esquire has refuted it a number of times. Specifically, during one time, he said Disney was never punished for that. RCID is not Disney. Once again, this is what he keeps doing. Bob Iger, and he's done it once on a previous call, and now he's doing it again, talking about an earnings call. He's saying they punished us. What did they do to you, Disney? They actually did nothing to Disney directly, nothing. Okay, they changed the district, but the district isn't Disney. Well, clearly this report is showing that Disney was indeed treating the district as Disney, but it's actually wasn't supposed to be. And it wasn't. Esquire went on and said, you've had to certify that. So either you're confessing to securities and fraud and saying that the entire time you were at Disney. So there's tax fraud, securities fraud, a bunch of Florida crimes that have been broken. But this is what you are saying here. If you're saying you're RCID, well, yeah, there's going to be issues there, but this is not the worst. And this is not where he digs himself in deeper. And then he would go on and discuss more about it. He also previously informed YouTuber WDW Pro that the Walt Disney Company would suffer defeat to the state of Florida in both their lawsuit against them, as well as a lawsuit that the board filed against the Walt Disney Company, the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District Board. As reported by Reuters, the board filed their suit claiming in an effort to stymie Florida's elected representatives, Disney covertly cobbled together a series of 11th-hour deals with its soon-to-be-replaced puppet government. Disney hoped to tie the hands of the new independent board and to preserve its own government in the district for at least the next 30 years. Esquire commented on this, saying, it appears that in both these cases that we may have giant wins for the state of Florida, for the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, and for Ron DeSantis. He explained, for Disney, the nightmare scenario, the worst possible scenario, which is a likely scenario, I don't want to give exact probabilities, but it's something that could very much probabilistically happen, is the federal case gets entirely dismissed. It gets entirely thrown out. There's multiple reasons. The reason cited, one of the main reasons, which I have said from the beginning on this, which is Disney does not truly have standing. They do not meet the elements for standing. Standing means the ability to bring a claim to court. So I think this just kind of bolsters what Andrew Esquire was saying. This new report, it seemingly indicates that what the oversight district was doing in their lawsuit against the Walt Disney Company appears to be true. We have this independent audit now of the Reedy Creek Improvement District coming out. Pretty damning for the Walt Disney Company. Does not look good for Bob Iger. And it looks like that lawsuit might get thrown out. We'll see. We'll have to see what a judge does. And then we'll see what happens with the state of Florida's lawsuit against the Walt Disney Company and whether that will go forward. But this looks to be another massive, massive blow for the Walt Disney Company, kind of showing that what they actually have been presenting is not true whatsoever. But let me know what you guys make of this. Leave a comment in the comment section below.